Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm very excited to have you here with me today to listen to my story. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick so that you can see the presentation. All right. So welcome again to The World is My Audience. My name is John Smith. I am the iPod teacher on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you want to give me a shout out there, you can certainly do so. And I'm John Smith at bookcreator.com. So taught special ed for 12 years. I was a technology integration specialist for 7. And now I am Book Creator's teacher success manager. So I'm responsible for webinars and trainings, conferences, when that was the thing, like in person, like run the food, do sessions, keynoting, you name it, they can do it. A little bit of support, lots of help, and hopefully some inspiration this morning that will get you going. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to share my story about my students, myself, and how Book Creator comes into play. And if we have time at the end, I'll do a little bit of a demo here with Book Creator. And I do know that there are some comments going on, and my apologies if you can't see this because the way I shared my screen. I don't have to do the display app today. So if you have some comments, and we'll send them out to you. We're going to share my story and then so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start this. The world is my audience. And like every good story, my story has my story starts with me kids. And most of them smiling, laughing, look kind of cute, like happy little children. Don't let them fool you. My students have big, as a matter of fact, they didn't look like this. They weren't smiling. They weren't happy. They were never, that energetic looking. As a matter of fact, these aren't even like I don't think these are people, right? So these are just random students. But this is not a representation of what my students actually look like. And like I said, they had a problem. And their big problem was that they just didn't care. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about school. They didn't care about science and social studies or math or any of that good stuff. But the one thing that I was really struggling with was why these students didn't care about writing. And so I thought about this for a little while, and then I realized something kind of important. I realized that I didn't even care about writing. Even as an adult, I found that I struggled to be interested in the whole writing thing. And so I was curious why my students had so much hatred for it, why I had so much hatred for it. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do to change that. And so I started thinking of some things, and I started with the obvious, right? The daily writing prompt. And I thought, if I could change up the daily writing prompt a little bit, then maybe things would be a little bit better. So I thought I'd come up with some cool writing prompts, at least ones that I thought were cool. Kids hated them, every single one. So I thought, maybe I'm going to try to step it up a little bit. Instead of doing the traditional writing prompt, maybe I would try to do something gross. And so I went into the kids and said, hey, we're going to write about the day in the life of a dog. You wake up, you lick your butt. What happens next? And the kids were disgusted and throwing up in the corner, right? Wasn't a good scene. So I decided, all right, maybe I won't go with the disgusting route. Maybe I'll try something different. Maybe I'll go the food route. And so I started talking to my students about food. It was National Pizza Day at the time. Maybe we could write about pizza, talk about your favorite crust, your favorite toppings, and see if that would get the kids excited. Well, it didn't. It just made them hungry and a little more angry because they didn't want to write. And so at this point, I felt kind of like this boxer here. I felt like a failure, completely knocked out. And to be honest, I really just wanted to quit my job. I thought, I'm going to quit being a teacher and go do something else, and I'll be perfectly happy with that decision. And then I decided, to try one more thing. I decided to try what every really good teacher does, all right? I decided to go to the teacher store.
And there it was in the back left corner, ironically next to the Advil, the holy grail of writing, 730 journal prompts, 2 for every day of the year. And I was ecstatic because I was like, if this book doesn't have my answers, then there are no answers. So I was super excited to check this out. As you can see here at the top left, I was pumped. I ran into my students. They were clearly not excited, right? We had the eye roll starting. We've got angry Roger Federer down here at the bottom left, right? These kids were angry with me and almost to the point of violence, right? Because I was asking them to try these writing prompts. And we tried them, all of them, all 730 of them. And guess what? They hated every single one. So at this point, again, I'm super frustrated, trying to figure out what to do. And it took me a few years to figure this out. But I came up with 3 reasons why I think kids hate school, or in this case, why they hate writing. And so I started thinking about this, and the first one is that these students, for the most part, they put their effort into whatever the work is that we're giving them to do, and then they hand it into you, the audience of 1. All right, and for the most part, that's not good enough. Now, sometimes they might take their work home and stick it on the fridge, and they have an audience of 3 or 4, but that's about it. Now, in today's day and age, most of these kids grow up with a global following from a very young age. And I mean, most of these kids have 10,000 YouTube followers before we even eat breakfast, except when they come to school. It's just you who gets to benefit from their work. Maybe you in the trash can. So that was number 1. The second thing was that even in 2020, even today, we are still telling kids to not collaborate. Keep your eye on your own paper. Do your own work. Don't talk to your neighbor, right? And that is upsetting to students because a lot of these kids work together with other kids all the time. If you don't believe me, take a look at the YouTube videos, the TikTok videos, and all these other things that these kids are posting out there because they need help and they're collaborating to get these products available and these videos and stuff like that sent out there. So collaboration is key to these students, and sometimes we're just not giving them the chance. The third thing that I realized is that these students are graduating high school. Sometimes they graduate middle school, and in Ohio, we graduate kids from kindergarten, right? And you ask these students, what was it that you left behind to benefit somebody else? And the answer a lot of times is, I don't know, gum under the desk, right? There isn't any work that's being left behind that's going to benefit anybody else. And so I thought about these 3 ideas, and I, again, got frustrated, and I couldn't figure out how I wanted to make this work until it hit me like a ton of books. All right? I found out about Book Creator, and for the very first time, I was able to take some form of writing and I was able to publish it. Now, at the time, I used the iPad app, and I was able to publish it to a bookstore and get that book out there for other people to see. Now, with Book Creator, we have the online version that's even easier and more amazing than I could have ever thought. But I found Book Creator, and I was like, you know what, this is awesome, and I'm going to take this into my students. So I went into the class with this idea. I said to them, hey guys, we're going to try something different today. And you can imagine their faces. They weren't as bad as that frowny face right there, right? They were worse, all right? And you could just hear the kids like, oh my gosh, here we go again. What kind of garbage is he going to give us today? Well, I looked at the students and I said, I want y'all to stop your whining because today we are going to write a book. And the students were kind of upset. You know, they're like, listen, you know that we hate writing. We've always hated writing. We're never going to change. You keep asking us to do this, and we keep fighting you on this. Why do you continue to think that we're going to write? So they were upset. And I said to them, listen, I said, there's more to the story. I said, because today I've had a realization. I've realized that your writing is awful. It will probably never get any better. And so guess what we're going to do? The kids just kind of looked at me strange, probably like you guys are looking at me right now. But they looked at me strange, and they were just kind of like, what? And I said, yeah, we are going to write a book, and we're going to publish it out there for the entire world to see. And the kids were like even more confused, right? And they started asking questions like, well, you said our writing is awful. Why would we write a book for the entire world to read? And I said, because the entire world needs to see how awful your writing is so that I don't feel alone anymore in this whole thing. And the kids, again, super confused. And they just looked at me. And then finally, this one student, the worst student that I have ever had in my entire teaching career, raises her hand and says, well, Mr. Smith, if we're going to write a book for the world, don't you think we ought to make it good? And it was at that moment that I had a realization and my students figured something out. And that was I, as their teacher, had to grade their papers, had to read their work, had to give them feedback, not because I wanted to, because their work wasn't good, but I did it because it was my job. And so I decided to tell them this and think about this. And the one girl, again, they were like, let's take this more seriously. So it was awesome. So we started talking about this, and the kids were actually pumped. They couldn't wait to do the work, right? They were so excited. It was something I had never seen before. The kids were just begging to get this work done. So we started talking about characters, setting, plot, all that important stuff that we need to talk about when we talk about writing. But there was a twist, right? I wasn't giving them the answers. I wasn't giving them any choices. I gave them all the choices. I wasn't giving them the stuff that they wanted. They kept looking at me like, what are we going to write about? I was like, I'm not going to tell you. It's up to you. And the kids eventually started thinking about this, and they really had some cool ideas. They wanted to know who our audience was going to be and how we're going to put this book out there. We talked about publishing it online. We talked about collaboration. We talked about design. Like, what were we going to put into our book? We're going to put photos and video. We're going to put recordings. We're going to put text. What were we going to do? And then we talked about my favorite, which is writing with your face. And the students were like, what does that mean? And I said, listen, I know that you guys struggle with figuring out where the keyboard is. And the kids are like, yep. And we can't spell, we can't type, and we don't know how to do any of that. And I said, that's okay. Because with Book Creator, you can click on this little microphone right here and you can write with your face. And the kids were super excited. And so we started writing with our face, and we came up with these ideas, right? We were trying to figure out what we were going to write about. So we stopped and we collaborated and we listened to each other. And eventually, after a few weeks, we had our story. And it was so exciting because I went out on Twitter and I told everybody to download our book and let us know what they thought. And it was really cool. The very first night, we had 16 downloads of that book. And the kids went absolutely bananas when I told them about it. And so then, as we're talking about these downloads of the book, a student asked me a question, something that had profound impact on me. The student said to me, Mr. Smith, we had 16 downloads of that book last night. And I said, yep. And he said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Can we go out in the hallway and graph it? And I said, wait a minute, that's math. And the kids were excited. Went out and got their art room rolly paper, slapped it up on the wall, and then we started graphing our downloads. 16 today, 30 the next day, 45, 100, whatever. We were graphing all of these results, and the kids loved it. They were making predictions. When are we going to get to 100? When are we going to get to 1,000? It was unbelievable to see from these students. And so at this point, my students and the students I've worked with, teachers around the world and things like that, we've published over 155 books in the last few years. All right, and it's been really cool. We've had over 60,000 downloads of those books, and that doesn't even include the people who have seen our books just online. And that is powerful, right? Because the downloads are awesome because you can graph those. You can put those on the rolly paper out in the hallway. But what's more important is the motivation. That is the money shot with the students. And what's really cool about the motivation is not the downloads help, the audience helps, but one other thing is that Book Creator is super easy. There is not a huge learning curve with Book Creator. I always tease teachers and say that, it takes me 30 minutes to teach teachers how to use Book Creator. It takes me about 5 to show some second graders how to use Book Creator. It's that easy. And at the end, I'll give you a quick little demo of how Book Creator actually works, and you'll see that it is really easy. There is no learning curve. So a couple of final thoughts before I let you go and think about this for a second, and then we jump back into a quick demo. Some final thoughts. Your kids need to be creating their learning. They need to be making stuff, okay? It could be a book, could be other things, but they need to be making things. The other thing they need to do is they need to collaborate. Again, these kids like working together. And so we need to give them the opportunity to allow that to happen. And then the third thing is that we need to share the work. If our kids can't share because they're too young, then we should share for them, because we all have a story to tell. And when we don't tell our story, somebody else does. And a lot of times they get that story wrong. So it's a lot easier when we tell the story ourselves. So my wife and I got into a discussion about this because I was talking about how putting the work on the refrigerator is not okay, especially in today's day and age. And I ended up losing that discussion because putting the work on the refrigerator is okay. I have 3 kids now, and guess what? I have work on the refrigerator. So putting the work on the refrigerator is all right, but it's better when you can put the work on everybody's refrigerator. I call that the global refrigerator. And with Book Creator and publishing your books online, that is super easy. So I want to leave you with a quote that I really enjoy, and it's one that I have lived by for the last 8 years or so. And that is, when children create for the world, they make it good. When children only create for their teacher, they make it good enough. And in today's day and age, good enough ain't good enough anymore. Thanks. All right, so I am going to figure out how to stop streaming here for a second. And I just want to see if there are any comments or anything like that might help out. All right, and I did see that my audio was a little bit weird there, so sorry about that. I do have a decent microphone, so I don't know what was happening there. So a little bit of Q&A here for this. What is the youngest age? So the youngest age that I have used this with was my son. My son was 4 when he wrote his first book. So I personally think you can use Book Creator with kids from any age. My daughter was 6 when she started using hers, and we used hers to create a sight word book because she wasn't interested in sight words. And you can see down here at the link on the screen that you can sign up at app.bookcreator.com for a free account. Give it a shot. Is it available in Spanish? So we do have Book Creator available in different languages depending on your browser and your computer settings. So
Hi, this is Karen with Google. Thank you for staying tuned. We appreciate it. We'll get it situated shortly.
Hi, sorry about that. John's lost his connection, so I'm happy to step in and take over for him, if that's okay.
It's great. Thank
awesome.
you.
Okay, are we live now?
We are live, yes. And
excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. John's had some issues with his internet. So sorry, I'm just getting my. I'm just going to get set up here. So John was about to show you how to use the app. So I'm just going to quickly go through it with you. So this is.
Sharing the screen?
I have no idea. Can you? Sorry, I just need to make sure I share the screen. Apologies, everyone. Just trying to make sure we have a few minutes of showing you how to use the app. Is that all right? Okay. So we're now sharing the screen, right?
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So when you get into the app, you can start making a book. There was a sign before, a little button that says create a new book. And you can choose one of these layouts. Okay, so there's a portrait, square, and landscape. And these on the bottom are the same book, same shape, but they've got the comic options. So if you want to access the comic options, so comic panels and stickers and stuff, then you need to choose one of these. So I'm just going to choose the square one here. And so you've got a blank book here. If you can see, I can add as many pages as I want just by clicking on the right arrow. And this is the cover page. So the buttons that you really need in the app are here. So this one here, the plus button, you can add media, you can add comics, you can add shapes, and I'll try to go over each one. And then there are also tabs up here, which I'll go into if we have time. So for this front page, if you wanted to change the color or add a texture or anything like that, click on the inspector button. You can see here, there's comic backgrounds. Some of the kids, they kind of love this stuff. So they could choose that. Or you could choose any of these categories down here. So there's colors, where you can choose one of these pre-selected colors, or you can even choose your own color here. So if I did that. There are also paper designs down here. So if you wanted lined paper or music paper, you can choose that. And then right at the end is borders. So you can see, you can have a page with bunting, pencils, various things. So you just select whatever you want. I'm going to leave it like that. And then to add things to this page, so to add text, to add drawings, to add stickers, you need to push this plus button. So this book is going to be an all about me book. I pushed on that plus. I'm going to add text. I'm going to add a title. So I'm just going to type in now all about me. Okay, and you can see it's here. If you want to adjust anything about the font, what you do is you click on the inspector button, so this I, and then you can change the color again. You can change the font. You can change size. You can change whatever you want. So let's say it's like that, and then you can adjust it, and you can see these little lines, they snap so that you can see when it's center aligned and stuff. If I wanted to now, I could take a photo. So if I want to add a photo of myself, I can go to plus and then media, go to the camera. I can see myself, take a quick picture, and then use picture. And it's just uploading now a photo about me. And I can resize it and drag it to where I want it to be. So that's my cover. And then I'm just going to, I'll go to the next page. I'm going to, let's just make it, I don't know, blue, for example. And I'll add some text, which will be this time, I'll just add some normal text. And I'll just say, I don't know, something like personal, personal details. So imagine you wanted a student to make this book and then, Dan, I've zoomed in. Sorry, everyone. just making a book about themselves, and you want them to record some information about themselves. So that could be their name, it could be their age, it could be what part of the world they live in. So if I wanted to type that, you've already seen how I added text earlier, but you can also add a audio hotspot. Sorry, my screen's got a bit huge here, so you can't quite see everything. But if I was trying to add audio hotspot, what I would do, click on media. You see this record button here, put a little microphone. You can click that. Now here is a big yellow button, start recording. So when I click that, it's going to record my voice. You'll see there's a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and I'll just record something. Hi, I'm Suwon Kemp. I work for Book Creator. I'm in the Czech Republic right now. You push stop recording, and then it asks you if you want to use this recording. So I'm going to say, yes, I do. I want to use it. So I'm going to use it here. And you'll see this little symbol come up. You can drag it where you want. You can make it huge or small. So kids can record their voices if they'd rather do that than write, or they can do both. And then when you come to read the book, you can click on it and it will play it back to you. If I go to this button here is in play mode. So I'm currently in edit mode. If I click on this button here, it will show you what the book would look like when it's finished. And if a student came and clicked on that, you see? So if you've got students who are reluctant to write or just prefer to express themselves with audio, then that's a great way of doing it. You can also add in, like I've shown you photos and the audio hotspot, you can also add in videos if you want. You could have a student come here and again, in the camera tool, there's a record video instead of a take picture. So I think that is most of the basics of how to use the app. You've got lots of other features in here. You can, if I had more time, I'd show you how to embed stuff. You can put in YouTube videos. You can embed them in there. You can add PDFs, Google Maps. There's all sorts. And that's all in the import button here. I'm not sure how much time we've got left, but I'll just spend the next few minutes answering questions, I think, if that's possible. How do I see the questions, Dan?
Shall I read some out?
Yeah.
How many pages do you get?
So there's no limit on pages. Just be aware that if you make a book that's really media heavy or is like, 500 pages, then it might take longer to load because all the books are online. So just bear that in mind.
Hey everyone, I'm back. Thank you so much for jumping in.
No problem.
Keep doing your thing. I had a power outage right in the middle of that, so my apologies. But yeah, Suwon, go ahead and keep going with what you're doing. I appreciate it. I'm here happy to answer.
No worries, John.
Questions as we go along.
No worries, John. That's fine. I'll just see if there's any other questions. How many books can you make with the free version? So on the free version, teachers get one library where they can store 40 books. So lots of teachers use the free version and they find that's absolutely fine for what they need. Are we going to post a link to the presentation? I guess we can.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. I have to publish that book. Let me publish that and we'll get a link here.
Yeah. Can I show how to make it collaborative? Does one person start a book and then share it? John, are you able to share your screen or what? I don't know what you're.
Yeah, yep, I can do that. Let me. I'm going to send the link into the private window. If the people in the private chat can send that link and put it into the comments, that would be great for so that people can see the presentation that we did already. And then let me share my screen here real quick. And the question was about collaboration, Suwon?
Yes, how do you enable collaboration?
All right, so if you're in the book, to turn on collaboration, I'll go over here to my little playground book. To turn on collaboration, underneath your book, there's a little share icon. And if you click on the share icon, there's an option to collaborate. And so what you'll do is when you invite your students into your library, they'll see your books, but they won't be able to do anything to them until you turn on collaboration. Excuse me, and when you turn on collaboration, there are a couple of options. The first one is that everyone in the library can collaborate on that book. Or if other people joined my library, now right now I don't have anybody there, but if other people joined, there would be a button here that says change. And if you click on change, you can choose which individual students in that library can collaborate on that book together. So when I turn on collaboration, you'll see a new little icon appear here on the screen. And then that allows the students to all work in that book at the same time or different times, but they can all work in that book together. It's very, it's kind of like Google style type of collaboration.
Yeah. Someone asked about how it's best to share books. John, do you want to go into that? How do we share books with families at home?
Yep. Yeah. My personal belief on this one is that I will publish a book. So if I go to the share button and click publish, then it'll give you the option to publish your book online. You check the title, check the author, and then you get a little link right here that you can then send off to the parents. And so when you send that link, anybody with it can view the book. It's not searchable on Google. It's not just anybody can find that link. You have to have it. So once you share that link, then people can view your book, and they can view it on any internet connected device. So it's really nice there. That's one way. The other way you can share your book is you can download it as an ebook, which comes down as an EPUB. The EPUB file isn't viewable on a whole lot of services, so it's not really the greatest option, but it is an option. And then we also have the ability to print. So if you print your book, it comes down as a PDF, and you can share that PDF. Again, for me personally, my favorite is the publish online because it's just way easier, a couple of clicks, and as soon as it's published, anybody with that link is able to view it.
Someone's asking, Sonia's saying, how do you save the slides? So I think you mean the books. So the books automatically save, Sonia. You don't have to do anything. They're all saved within the web app.
Yep.
Melissa says, are you able to make changes after the book's published, John? Oh, sorry, John. Melissa, you can make changes after you've published a book, and then those changes are reflected live. So you can change a book, and it will pretty much instantly update the book. So that's fine. Sorry, I'm just reading through the questions.
And while Suwan is doing that, I just want to say thank you to Suwan for jumping in and saving my second half of the webinar there. So I appreciate that, Suwan.
That's fine. Is this usable with Google Classroom? So Arlene, you can, if you do what John suggested earlier, which is to publish a book, so publishing a book online, you can put the link to the online book into Google Classroom, and you can view it in that way. That's how it kind of works.
Chelsea, can students create their own books? They can, as long as they create them inside of a teacher's library. And believe it or not, this is one of the best things, and this is what I love about kids, right? Teachers will assign an assignment, and the kids will go into Book Creator and they'll make their assignment on types of flowers or something like that, and then they'll go home and they'll start making books on their own. And so then teachers are like, wait a minute, there's kids that are just making books on their own, and I didn't even tell them to do that. So they can, as long as it's inside of a teacher's library. And students don't have an account in the traditional sense, Michael. But when they go to our site, app.bookcreator.com, they can click to the student tab, and it will ask them to join a teacher's library. So once they join that teacher's library, then they can do that.
Susan just asked about libraries and getting students to join. It's kind of what John just said. Students can create a sort of account of their own and then join with the code. And what happens is students can't actually create any books unless they're connected to a teacher's library. So if they're connected to your library, then they can start creating books directly within your library. So you'll see all their work live. You'll see everything that they do, and you'll see who's written which book and that kind of thing. So that's how it works. You can see, if you want to check out our support pages on our website, which is bookcreator.com/support, you'll see all the articles about how to get students started, how to use various features, how to find your library code, that kind of thing. The price for the full version, Linda, we have two paid versions. The 180 book plan is $60 a year or $5 a month. The 1,000 book plan is $120 a year or $10 a month. And you can pay monthly and cancel whenever you need. That's fine.
Yeah. And Michael's question, do they need an account before using the invite code? So when they go to app.bookcreator.com, there are two sign-ins. There's a teacher sign-in and a student sign-in. They're going to click student. They're going to log in with Google Office or QR code or Clever, and then they're going to enter the code immediately. So like I said, it's not a traditional account where students don't have to go in, fill in their name, fill in all this information and say, I'm a student. They just click student, sign up with Google, and then enter that library code from the teacher, and they're in.
Yeah. Vicky and Tracy were asking about templates. So yes, the teacher can create a template, which is a really great idea if you're making a sort of, welcome back to school template or whatever. The teacher can create a book, and then you ask each student to make a copy of the book. It's really simple. And then each student owns that copy, and they can directly edit and change that copy. So you'll then see, if you've got 30 kids, you'll see 30 student templates appear in your library. So it's a really good way of getting kids to start working in Book Creator.
Yep. All right, we're quickly running out of our time here today. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for putting up with the slight disruption. I think my mic was crackly at the beginning as well, so my apologies for that. And again, thank you to Swan for jumping in here, and thank you to all the Book Creator team who's helping answer questions in the chat window. And thank you to everybody who helped put this this together, because I'm very excited about this and looking forward to hearing more of the presentations. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. We really appreciate it. Be safe out there, and happy bookmaking.